Promised. Before we got into this game, that I'd give y'all a big ol' yeah! Thank you, Shy Gamer, for that one. And we're gonna go ahead and hop right on in to game number 1 here of our TVP. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner of hard lead, we have the number 1 seed in the bracket, the winner of the most recent Premier Tournament. It is Team Liquid's Clem. Also, all-around sweetheart. We love Clem. Big Clem fans here. His opponent in the upper left-hand corner, we've been talking about him. He's been looking very promising in PvP and has had some very fantastic results lately. This is going to be a tough one for him to overcome. It is Platinum Heroes Firefly. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take this hat off, so I ain't got to talk like this the whole cast. Ain't nobody requested a southern cast for this one, so sometimes just off the back of the yeehaw, the accent just sticks around. And don't worry, Officer Everything Bagel is back asleep. Only moderately perturbed by the yeehaw. The first time I yeehawed when he was on stream, he was so confused and startled. It was adorable. Since then, though, now he just doesn't care anymore. He's just like, why are you making noise? But again, it's only fair. He wakes me up all the time. He woke me up this morning. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, dude, you gotta stop. I need this sleep right now. He didn't stop, but I went back to sleep anyways. So it's only fair that I get to wake him up sometimes from his little naps. Little cat naps. He is a handsome cat, Ragnarok Cat. That is true. Thank you for noticing and acknowledging that. But we should focus on this game a little bit. This should be a good one. Clem is obviously, I would say, the favorite to win this bracket here today, although there is a Rainer signed up. And that, kind of hoping that's our finals. Pulling a little bit for Clem here just because I want to see Clem Rainer finals. I love those finals. It's always my favorite things to cast. It's one of my favorite TVZs just in the world. It actually might just be my favorite TVZ, Clem Rainer. It's so good every time. But I don't know. Firefly has got that. He's got that je ne sais quoi of the Protoss that I feel like can be tough for Clem sometimes. It feels like Firefly might be able to be annoying enough with Protoss. That's what it really is, right? For a player like Clem, he's so good. He's so solid. He's so strong. He's so fast. But I feel like he's susceptible to that thing that MaxPax does so well. That does work a decent amount against Clem. He just annoys him. He just keeps poking and prodding and annoying, and suddenly he's poked and prodded and annoyed him so much that he's killed a bunch of like Marines, and there's just not enough units, and the Stalkers start to overwhelm. And I don't know, Firefly's got Blink on the way. He's got a third base on the way too. And that leads me to believe Firefly's not going to try to be too annoying over here. And that's going to give Clem a chance to do the same thing to his opponent. But I think if Clem starts to gain an advantage in this game, Firefly is going to have a really tough time later on. Like, Clem's mid game is, generally speaking, so very solid. Estrella did 3-0 him recently, though. So, again, he's not bulletproof. He's not invincible. Oh, and Firefly is paying attention. And, yeah, those Stalkers got there just at the right time, just in the nick of time to push that medevac away. Already taking half of its health off. There's 3 Widow Mines in there. Clem does not want to lose that for free. But it looks like Clem has a like a push planned here. He's got 3 barracks, tanks coming out. He's got a Raven as well. Not going to get that Raven upgrade, though. So if any Colossi come out, Raven will not be able to shut them down. Doesn't look like that's the game plan for Firefly, though, as he's quick into charge and +1. Now, usually when I see this, I expect a pretty quick Twilight Council or Templar Archives as well. Not seeing that just yet from Firefly, though, and that worries me a little bit that he's not going to have any splash damage for Clem's push. The Observer just following this medevac, but Clem just keeping that medevac there just in case Firefly forgets about it. Still no third base from Clem. This surprises me a little bit. I usually expect to see Clem go for a quick 3cc, but I think he might have been worried about whatever Firefly was doing. Firefly's third base has been done for so long, man. Clem's gonna run out of time. Eventually, Firefly will just be able to overwhelm him with Warpins. And Clem definitely needs a hit before then. As I say that, he's gonna start pushing out here. He's got Stim and Combat Shields and +1. All finishing up around the same time. 2 medevacs about to pop out to help these guys out. Only, what is it, 2 siege tanks? Just a couple to lay that ground fire. Firefly warping in more stalkers right now. Doesn't have a ton of zealots out, and I feel like heavy charge lot here could be very strong against the tanks. Maybe if some zealots hit the backside. Firefly more focused on the kind of stronger units, deal a little bit more damage. He's gonna try to pick off some units at the start. Big stim here from Clem as he sieges the tanks up. Gets a couple of tank shots on the backside as Firefly tries to escape. Firefly gets out of range of the tanks, but the bio is still doing a great job here. Firefly needs to blink backwards, but loses a lot in that fight. That was not a good fight for Firefly. And both of these tanks are still here for Clem. He's going to depower this gateway. The medevac with the Widow Mines comes back over to join up with this army. The 3 Widow Mines can now burrow. One tank gets taken down. The other one gets targeted and taken down. The Widow Mine gets killed there by the Observer gets killed by the Widow Mine, excuse me. With the tanks gone, though, Clem's push becomes a little bit less powerful, but he's just reinforcing with more units. There's still no third CC. Oh, he built 2 more barracks. You know, I was wondering if and when those were going to happen. There they are back there in the middle line of the natural. Clem is not going for a third. He is just going to keep this pressure on, and I don't think Firefly is going to have enough. Man, he's trying to warp in Zealots, but these Zealots are coming in a little bit too late. Oh, the Widow Mines! Just destroying those Zealots, even hitting some Stalkers. They will get cleaned up and Clem will get pushed back. We do see Clem still way up on army supply, though. Thing is, Firefly's third base been mining for so long, his fourth base is on the way. Even though he's trading kind of worse, he's got a big warp and his Zealots in the main base. Hold on here, Firefly holding on through the onslaught. Now getting some damage on the other side of the map as a few SCVs start going down, 7 already dying. Clem's economy was already bad, and now it's just getting worse and worse. 12 SCVs dying. And that Prism is staying alive too. At the same time, though, Clem is pushing in on the other side of the map. Where is Firefly's army? Where's Firefly's army? Oh my god, it's all over here. Oh, I was like, where did he go? Okay, it's base trade time. This is kind of wild. Marauders trying to micro as much as they can. I assume there's a recall available. There is. So Firefly could try to go home and defend after getting some damage done here. He's killing all of Clem's production. It looks like he should be able to get this main base orbital. Clem is just mining in the natural, but he's going to lift that up and pull it away. Clem has absolutely no money in the bank right now. I feel like he needs to cancel these units. They're just popping out and dying. He has no money. Oh, and the orbital gets jumped on. There's no repair. It's going to go down. I think Firefly's done it. Clem can no longer win the base trade. He has no money in the bank. He is going to kill that Prism. SCVs are coming across. I mean, he can't build anything, though, unless something gets canceled, but there's nothing left to get canceled. There's nothing left in production here for Clem. who has now rebuilt his base. He needs to start flying these buildings. This starboard needs to go over to the corner. Clem, send your starboard to the corner. The units that are here are just going to try to take as cost-efficient of a fight as possible. Widowmine's not going to get any more connections. Okay, finally, Clem is lifting his production and flying it away. Oh my god, there's so many stalkers here, though, for Firefly. I think he's going to kill all these buildings, or at least start them on fire. Clem can't even draw anymore. The game's over, guys. Firefly's got game one. Clem can't build anything else. This is all going to burn down before Clem can kill the rest of these buildings, and that is going to be GG. This is the last building. Okay, this is the last building. Wait, which one's going to die first? That's it. Clem was defeated. Didn't even get a chance to GG as he lost his last few buildings. Clem messing up the base trade a little bit there, but great call from Firefly. I'm like shocked that he went for the base trade, but it turned out to be an excellent call. He didn't have enough units to really fight that force at the front. And he was like, okay, well, I already have zealots in your base. It's going to rotate around with these stalkers and get on in there. By the time Clem did any real damage to Firefly's base, his base was just completely gone, losing both of those orbitals before I think he even really knew what the situation was. Before he really realized it, and then just late to pick that production up. If there was a starport in the corner, that game goes on for like 2 or 3 more minutes, and Clem's got a chance to at least potentially draw it. But yeah, Firefly takes game one, man. Takes the base trade. Looks so bad for him for a little bit. We're waiting for Firefly to join our lobby here. He's so cute. His little paws, you guys can't see this. His little paws are twitching. Adorable. Absolutely adorable. All right, Firefly's in. We're going to Oceanborn for game number 2. All right. Well, we talked about him being maybe the favorite to win this whole thing. And yet he's down 0-1 in this series in the quarterfinals. It would be a shocker. It would be an upset for sure to see this go down. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner, we have Team Liquid's Clem, who now has to win 2 in a row against the Rising Star, man. I mean, this guy has absolutely shown that he can go toe-to-toe with the best. And he's come out on top against a lot of players, mostly Protoss. This is a good start for him in this series. Let's see if he can hold on to it. It is Platinum Heroes Firefly. And a lot of people might be saying, oh, well, he only won because it was a weird base trade game. It was, you know, he couldn't fight the army straight up. He took some bad engagements, maybe. Sure. But Clem's build put him in a weird spot, right? He didn't have a third CC, didn't have a lot of longevity. So the Zealots getting in there with the Prism was already huge damage. Firefly realized that the base trade was his best chance to stay alive. It was just good game decision-making, realizing he couldn't fight the army straight up, deciding not to fight the army straight up. You know, Firefly had 4 bases. He was very spread out. And he can warp in on the other side of the map. That's one big benefit, right, of the Protoss in a base trade. If you have that Warp Prism, if you warp in on the other side of the map, your production isn't just dead back at home. Also, I have to say, I really think Clem mishandled that base trade situation. I don't know if he realized exactly how much of a base trade that it was. Because he didn't lift his buildings for so long. And then he had all that production that was still going. He had no money in the bank, and he was just building units in the main base. And if you're the Terran and you see a base trade starting to happen, you've got units in your main, you cancel all of that. You lift your buildings, because if those SCVs across the map had 400 mins to drop a command center, that game is so different. But Clem just had nothing. He had no recourse for the base trade. It just goes to show that even when Clem might be the stronger macro player, the stronger micro player, StarCraft, not just about your macro and your micro. This is so important. They're so important. We talk about them all the time. But your decision making in game, little things like scouting, understanding the state of the game, where your opponent's at, where you're at, and what the best decision to make at that moment in time is, reading your opponent, having a good sense of, just like what's going on the map. That kind of stuff is so, so important. And I think it's what separates the really good players from the greatest players. The greatest players can be behind. The greatest players could be slower than their opponents and still win. I've seen that happen time and time again in this game. I mean, the classic example of that is back when MVP was having issues with his wrist, and he wasn't able to micro as well as he had been previously. And instead of, just giving up and calling it, he kept playing and focused more on strategy, using his abilities of his game knowledge, his star sense, and his good strategic plays to still beat all the other best players in the world. I just love StarCraft for that. I love how important strategy still is. Even not like, oh, what strategy are you picking in the game, but like your strategy mid-game of being like, oh, I'm going for a base trade. That's now my strategy is the base trade, and it turned out to be the good strategy there. Firefly wins it. Anyways, talking a lot about last game, filling this early game time here as we have another Widowmine drop. This time though, Clem is going to be able to get in with it. Hops into the main base, drops all 3 Widowmines, and oh my god, he's going to get the hit. Oh, he just barely doesn't get it. And he picks up 2 mines back in the medevac. This one doesn't get the hit because there's an observer. That one drops out and doesn't get a hit either because of the observer. And now that's 2 dead medevacs for absolutely no value for Clem. That's kind of a feels bad, man. Reaper going to double check, make sure there's a 3rd. Pretty sure I already knew about that. He's going to drop the auto turret in the natural. But with the shield battery here, that's not going to get any damage done either. Doesn't kill a single probe. And this medevac is trapped in the corner. Honestly, great defense from Firefly, who has lost 1 probe. There we go. 1 probe to the Reaper. But killing those 2 Widowmines puts them nicely ahead. But also, just in general, Firefly is going to be ahead here because his game plan was straight into actual units and actual production, whereas Clem, he put a lot of that early production into harassment, which has done basically nothing. TRP, you just want a silent yeehaw? Okay. I'll give you a silent one. Here you go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Did you hear that? That was for you. But Clem's got a big push coming here. He's going to yeehaw his way across the map. Firefly does have 2 Immortals out, but there's not a lot of other units supporting this. He does have a couple of shield batteries here. Turns on the super shield battery right away. Clem has stim, but he's refraining from using it right now, waiting, I think, until that shield battery overcharge runs out. Going to siege the tank up, siege the Widowmines up a little bit closer. The Stalkers do come down. Clem, gotta go for that stim soon. There it is. The tank gonna get jumped on, but those stalkers now super vulnerable since they already blinked. A third immortal pops out. I think that's gonna be enough to send Clem back. He's gonna pick off a couple more deaths on the retreat, maintaining a 35 army supply lead. Okay, 34, I can do the math, but still very impressive army supply lead. As Firefly's entire army consists of 3 immortals and like a couple other units. He's warping against some zealots now. Charge is done. Clem's got to be careful of that. Firefly's worried about a drop. But Clem is not dropping. He's actually rotating around this side and might catch Firefly a little bit off guard here. With a lot of units not in position to deal with this, Firefly needs to get over here now. The base is getting targeted down. Is Clem going to go for it? No, he decides to dive on one of the immortals instead, the safer target. As the Widow Mines go off on the Zealots, taking those charge lots down very quickly. However, with enough Stalkers and Immortals here, it looks like Firefly is going to push this back. Clem gets pushed back again. This time, though, Clem does have a third base. So he should be able to take this. And look at that worker count, 55 to 51. Firefly not taking these gases. So he's not going to have like some crazy amount of mining over his opponent. But he is going to push out, wants to get some counter damage done. He's got a few Zealots with this now. I don't know if he's going to be able to find too much damage, though. Clem has a lot of stuff here back at home to defend this. But now it's Firefly to do some cheeky prism stuff again. There is a Widow Mine here that could spot this, but it's not quite spotting it. Clem's pushing this army back for right now. Targets down one more Immortal. The Widow Mine's going to drop down, and actually one of them connects right in the middle of that army. The Immortal will get taken down, so no more Immortals. Firefly's basically on pure Blink Stalker. The Viking is going to take down this Prism as the Zealots drop out into the third base, but Clem is going to clean those Zealots up. Stalkers are hitting on the top side as well. There's more Marauders coming out. Clem is defending, and now, again, a 30 army supply lead here. Clem is also ahead on workers. It's even bases. That fourth base is not done yet for Firefly. And I think Clem's going to be able to just counter push this to oblivion. Firefly does not have nearly enough back at home to defend this. He is ahead with that +1 armor upgrade. But that is about all Firefly has going for him. Zealot reinforcement's going to push him back for now. But Clem still just trading beautifully, maintaining that army supply lead. His +1 armor is nearly done, and once that finishes, Firefly is going to have lost all the advantages that he has. Scan to see that the fourth base is in fact done. This Widow Mine does get cleaned up, but notifies Clem that there is in fact the Zealot run by coming as the Stalkers hit on the other side. Ghost starting to come out now as well. Firefly has a new Warp Prism, which has been spotted by Clem as he stims back to clean this up. There was a Viking earlier. He's not going to need it. He's just going to kill that Prism. Stalkers come in, but there's still plenty of bio here to deal with them. Zealot's trying to come in on this side, but the Widow Mine gets another connection. This time Clem's going to clean up all of these Zealots and the Observer. And he's pushing at the same time over here. That 30 supply lead is now a 50 supply lead in the army. And this time I don't think there's anything to stop Clem from pushing across the map and killing Firefly. The Widow Mines are going to go off and kill a lot of the Zealots and the Stalkers. And the bio with all of these medevacs should just be able to crush through. I just don't see Firefly holding on for much longer here. He's down 60 supply. There's the G, just the one G. As Clem ties the series up. No base trade that time. No 2 base from Clem. And I think Clem, honestly, is going to have a much better chance if he goes into a macro game against somebody like Firefly. Firefly, obviously, again, very good player. Has had some really sick results. But as the game goes longer and later, Clem's multitasking, his ability to attack on multiple fronts, defend on multiple fronts, as we saw in that game, dealing with Warp Prism, Zealot Run-Bys, Blink Stalkers, constantly, consistently, over and over and over again. That's going to shine through in those longer games. Whereas in the shorter games, you know, it's like One army at a time. Firefly's going to be very good at one army at a time. I think Clem really his best bet is to take it to that mid game where he can multi-prong, he can harass, he can take good trades all over the map and really pin Firefly into the corner. Best silent yeehaw ever. Glad I could do that for you. Here, I'll give you another one, just so you know it's really happening. As we get into game 3 here, it's going to be a big ol' it's the biggest silent yeehaw I've ever given. As for UTRP. Oop, I accidentally turned the sound off. Oh, I hit buttons I haven't hit in a long time. All right, game 3. We're all tied up. Spawning in the upper right-hand corner of Alcyone, we have Team Liquid's Clem. And his opponent in the lower left-hand corner, it is the Red Protoss for Platinum Heroes, Firefly. Is Clem washed? Clem showing, in fact, that he is not washed. Or at least isn't completely washed. If Firefly got the 2-0, for sure, Clem washed. But Clem fighting it back. Now the question here is, what does Firefly do? Because game 1, he won it, but it was a bit of a struggle, and it got to a weird place, right? Firefly doesn't want to count on a base trade winning game 3. I feel like he's going to want a strategy that, you know, grabs the bull by the horn, so to speak. And I feel like Clem's going to do something pretty similar to game 2.
Yeehaw! Coming right on in!
Oh, man. Speaking of yeehaws, Sergeant Sadsack, thank you so much for the raid. I greatly appreciate it. That was almost timed perfectly for me, where I was doing the silent yeehaw on stream. It's actually like I'm silent yeehawing right now on stream. Damn, that could have lined up perfectly. Only for me. Only I would have heard the alert and seen me silent yeehaw at the same time. But that would have been great. Thank you for the raid. I hope you had a lovely stream. We're here in game 3. Firefly was able to win game 1 after a base trade against a 2-basing Clem. Clem, maybe misjudging the base trade a little bit, lost all of his buildings. Actually, he was eliminated from the game. Didn't even get to GG. But game 2 went a little bit more as you might expect it. Big macro game. Clem ended up taking it after some really nice multi-pronged defense. Firefly trying to hit with Zealot run-bys and Stalker army at the front and Prism in the natural, and Clem just bopped it all. So now we're in game 3, and I'm kind of wondering where these players are going to go. Part of me thinks Firefly should do like a 2-base 4-gate blink or something like that. It is going to be Twilight Council first here for Firefly. He drops his second gate. We'll see what he ends up going for. Clem is expanding in the main, playing it safe, maybe worried about what Firefly was going to go for. But it looks like another Widowmine drop here out of Clem. And yeah, it's kind of what I was talking about. I expect him to do pretty much the same thing as game number 2. I didn't like in game 1 that he didn't go for a 3rd base. I feel like Clem's going to be a much stronger in the macro games against Firefly than he is necessarily in you know, like 2-base play. I'm glad you love the chicken emojis, TRP. Shout out to Crass Culture for making those emojis. I love those emojis. I really do. Speaking of which, I need to get an Officer Everything Bagel emoji. I've been talking about it for a while. I just need to like message an artist about it. See if I can't get an Officer Kitty emote made. Ooh, Clem's going to come in with the Widowmine drop. So far, Firefly's done a great job defending against these. Oh, nope. Oh, so close. But Firefly does get out of there this time. Oh, that Widowmine actually gets a fantastic shot. What the hell? That is insane. It kills a Stalker and splash damages 6 probes. Oh, man. Firefly's been so good on the defense of these Widowmine drops. But not this game. This game making one little mistake and suddenly losing 6 workers, losing a Stalker. So painful. Reaper will get cleaned up. Ah, but that sucks for Firefly. He does have Blink done. Getting into an Immortal and Charge now, as well as +1 shortly. But Clem, he's got that 3rd Rax finishing up. He's got 1 tank out. I think it's just going to be the 1 tank. The 1 tank, 1 Raven. Lots of bio play here. Out of Clem. Clem realized his reactor was actually blocking this barracks from going down. Still no 3rd CC for Clem, but that's not too surprising. He's just getting into his production right now. Keep an eye out if that 3rd CC does go down or if he wants to commit on 2 bases again. I would much prefer to see a 3rd CC out of him. I know I've said that like 3 times already in the last couple minutes, but I just want to make it clear that I think Clem has a much better chance of winning in the longer games against Firefly. Firefly just chilling for now. Both players macroing up, getting their stuff going. And it feels like Clem's getting pretty close to a push out here. His +1 and his combat shields are both about 2/3 of the way done. Stim is just finishing. It's got 2 medevacs popping, and it looks like it's about time to move across. I thought this was going to be a CC on location, but no command center here just yet. This SCV is promising, though. That's a promising SCV. Oh, hold on. It's got some probes going down here. Double auto turret actually getting 6 worker kills. Almost gets 7 here. 2 of them very low. But that's 6 more worker kills there for Clem. As he's going to push the front. Now it's double shield battery for Firefly, who recognized that Clem was probably going to be doing a push. But a big stim here out of Clem, and he's just going to go for it anyways through the overcharged shield battery. Guns that down. Guns down every unit except these 2 Immortals, which are getting juggled as much as is physically possible. But it's not enough. And just like that, a very quick ending to Game 3. Was not expecting that. Clem just stims right through everything Firefly has, and it turns out maybe Clem doesn't need a 3rd base. Maybe he doesn't. Firefly not able to hold on in that game, where he was in games 1 and 2. And it kind of shows that probe damage early on, it can affect things, right? Maybe a couple extra units there is enough for Firefly to hold on. Maybe if he's not focused on those auto turrets, he's more focused on the push that's coming across the map. I don't know. But Clem, despite falling 0-1, ends up taking victory in that series. GG.